Senator Pia.
Thank you. But actually, I need the assistance of the Majority Floor Leader because he had the notes on the amendments. Can you share that with me, Majority Floor Leader? Thank you very much.
I will ask Mr. President, the sponsor of the measure, to perhaps read the amendments covering Section 3.
Thank you.
Mr. President, because
Thank you.
I have incomplete.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure verbatim, Mr. President, that we'll be able to explain clearly what has been amended in Section 3,
Okay.
which is coverage.
So that's the question first. Let's know the status. What is the current status of Section 3 with the amendments of our colleagues?
Madam, Mr. President, we are deleting the automatic increase adjustment of the bill.
It's not in Section 3. That's not in just Section 3, Your Honor. Just Section 3.
Just a section, okay. The annual medical and physical examination expense.
No, no.
Tama ba?
Section 3.
Line 10, line 10.
1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended. Session resumed.
Mr. President, my understanding regarding the amendments made on Section 3 is that this was qualified that the coverage would be consistent with the policy guidelines and delivery learning modalities recognized by the DepEd. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Yeah, this is the amendment of Senator Lauren
Okay,
Legarda.
sige. So, my amendment may not be necessary depending on the answers of our sponsor. The objective here now with the amendment of Senator Lauren is to ensure that the cash is it correct that the objective here is to ensure that the cash allowance will be used only in accordance with these guidelines and taking into consideration the different deliveries of learning modalities? Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, so for the record, because anytime this involves the disbursement of cash, and this will be cash that will be given to teachers, is that correct, Mr. Sponsor? This is cash? Okay.
Yes.
Well, before I go to my question, how will this be disbursed to the teachers? On a monthly basis, on an annual basis?
It's annually.
Annually.
Once a year, Madam.
Do they have to give receipts for their purchase, or it is just a?
No, Mr. President.
So once they have
It's an outright expense.
So how do we ensure that this is used for that purpose? Because it is a great purpose, but we want to be ensured that it's used for that purpose.
This is an allowance, Mr. President. So, who's going to give the certification? it's not subject for liquidation, so this is an allowance.
But my question is, how do we know it is used for that purpose? We do not know.
Well, we trust the teachers, Mr. President.
So because there is a shortage, we assume that the funding we make available will be used to meet that shortage. And I
Yes.
assume that for the general population. But
Yes,
I
ma'am.
also assure you that there will be
Okay.
those who do not
If
use
you
it
have
for that
any
purpose.
amendments, Madam President,
I'm
we're
getting
very
there.
much
I'm
to,
getting there. I'm just
accept.
trying to set the basis to determine if there is a need for an amendment. Is there a need for protection? Would your resource persons, Mr. President, know of any other allowance-based, do I call this a subsidy grant, of a similar nature that there's no need for liquidation?
One minute suspension, Madam President.
Session suspended.
Ready to resume.
Session resumed.
Mr. President, can I answer my own question? Because it is not this representation's desire to confuse or to make the issue complicated. No, I think everyone recognizes that the teachers are the first after the family to, kumbaga sila yung nag-aambag. Sila yung nagdadagdag sa kung anumang kakulangan sa classroom. Alam naman natin yon. My question stemmed from the situation where what are the boundaries on how this is used. So if I may go further, for example, ang isang teacher, walang mali siya po yung tanong ko. Kunyari ang isang teacher, ginamit niya dahil sa isang bata na nakita niyang laging gutom, laging kulang sa pagkain. And I have so much respect for the teacher who will use their personal money para tulungan. Meron pang magre-regalo ng sapatos. Covered ba yon? Kasi baka naman mamaya, hindi yon covered. Siya pa mapagalitan. Siya pa masabihan na misuse niya yung fund and yet ginamit niya para sa ikabubuti ng bata. But I don't think that's covered by a cash
Yes.
allowance.
I do understand the point of the lady senator. Tama po yun. Pero ito pong ano natin, purpose natin dito is for the teacher supplies allowance. Pero kung gugustuhin po nilang gamitin yon para makatulong sa ano po, pwede rin siguro.
Hindi, yun nga ang point ko, Mr. President. Ang hirap ng siguro. Kasi we are governed by laws and we are governed, and I will look at the
Maybe we can
Secretary
put it
of
on
DBM at
record
this
na
moment,
pwede.
na baka naman, or COA, si COA pa yata ang ano, ayokong may makowa dito. So, sa akin, Mr. President, paano ba? Do I amend this? It's a question, it's a genuine question. Do I amend this to include more than supplies, but to any expense that the teacher sees is needed by the child? Yun ba dapat ang scope natin?
Yeah, Madam, Mr. President, I think the lady senator has a point there. At saka nagnad na po ang ating Secretary of Finance na pwede.
Pati Secretary of
Put
Finance,
it on record,
dinagdag
plus
mo
the
pa.
DBM Secretary.
Hindi, no, but-
So nandito na yung mga support group. So I don't see any problem there, Mr.
Mr.
President.
President, Majority Floor Leader, I don't intend to delay this. Our secretaries have been here for more than 2 hours for another matter, for a very important bill. I don't know. I think I have to consult the body. I am looking at the Minority Floor Leader. Okay ba yun na dagdagan natin to na the grant of cash allowance authorized in this act shall cover all public school teachers engaged in teaching basic... Kasi it doesn't say It doesn't even say that unlike before, it's supplies. Tinanggal na yan eh. Dati kasi it says supplies. So is it really meant to be open-ended?
Mr. President, it's
The next section.
It's
All-
in section 4.
All public school teachers shall be granted a teacher supplies allowance. Okay, for the purchase of tangible, o di yun na nga, nalimit natin yon.
Right.
For the purchase of tangible or
Tangible or
intangible teaching supplies and materials, and for the implementation of or conduct of various learning delivery modalities. O do I want to say, and for any need a teacher deems suited for the benefit of the learner? It's a question, Your Honor. I'm looking at the Minority Floor Leader because paano nga kung bumili siya ng pagkain para sa estudyante?
Maybe
Paano kung may
Maybe
sakit
ask
yung
the
estudyante?
Minority
Siya
Floor
bumili
Leader,
ng...
you want to
Kunyari,
interject?
narinig niya may ubo. Isang buwan na, may ubo pa rin. Siya nagpagamot. Teaching supplies ba yun? Hindi na siya teaching supplies
Hindi na siya
eh.
teaching
But
supplies.
the truth is, and I ask His Honor to ask his advisors, hindi ba't kasama yan sa ginagastos ng isang teacher? Kasama yun. Yung tsinelas ng bata, may bumibili ng parang... So that's the reality. And I don't want His Honor to have to come back and amend this. Let's ask the advisors exactly what these teachers spend their money on, and is Congress willing to be clear about this expense so that we write into the law exactly the situation the circumstances that we know occur.
the nature of the measure, Mr. President, is about the teaching supplies allowance. So, unless amendahan nga natin, may babaguhin tayo doon, may I ask the...
Tanggalin na si teacher supply. Sorry to cut you off, Your Honor, pero lakas ng boses ng majority leader, napatingin ako.
Okay, so...
Teachers allow, okay, ito, just a thought. Teachers allowance, delete the word supplies, and then in the definition, allowance means supplies and any, please.
Mr. President,
And other expense?
Yes, Senator Agaras, recognized.
maybe we could, subject to style, just insert the phrase and other expenses incidental
To the delivery of
the learning
education,
of the child.
something like that.
Ayun.
Yeah.
I'm very okay with that. I think that will cover
That's subject to style, subject
the
to style,
reality of what the teachers
Because that's what you're
spend
averting
for.
to, Your Honor. Is,
Yes.
incidental expenses.
Subject to style, so we can amend, we can accept, we can accept the proposal if the...
It's an amendment to the amendment.
The amendment to the amendment, if the sponsor will accept, and then subject to style.
What does the
I
sponsor have to
accept.
say?
I accept.
Since the
Subject
sponsor
to style.
accepts the amendment is approved, subject to style.
Mr. President, I thank everyone on the floor because I feel this was an important amendment that will address the reality for teachers that they spend for anything and everything to assist their learners as if they were their own child. And I did not want them to be bound by our definition if in fact they are spending for something na ikububuti naman ng estudyante nila. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Pia Cayetano.
Thank you.
Majority
Thank you,
Leader.
Senator Pia.
Thank you, Senator Pia. We understand where the distinguished lady is coming from, and we thank the interventions of our dear colleagues, the Minority Leader, Senator Angara, and Senator Cayetano. Mr. President, there are no other individual amendments. I move to close the period of individual amendments. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, period of individual amendments hereby closed.